Wow. You can see my mouth in the mirror of... Okay, hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Best of Conservatish Volume 1. My name is Peter Feliciano, and I will be your host on this journey. It has been a year and 10 months since I started this show, and I have a lot of material out there, 143 episodes to be exact. And so I figured, you know what? I've given you cunts enough. And you shouldn't say cunts. I wanted to brighten your day and mine by going through and finding a couple clips, just a couple clips of stuff that I really enjoy from episodes, from conversations I really enjoy. And so that's what I've done. I found a good couple clips, and I really like the show, and I really like the episodes that I'm featuring on this program. Wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe, make sure you rate, review, send me an angry email at conservatishpodcast@gmail.com. Find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano, and TikTok at Conservatish, and Facebook and Twitter and all that other bullshit. Oh, and patreon.com/Conservatish. So, first up, from episode 90, conversation that I had with Peter from Carlsbad. Second time I had him on the show. Love that guy. And this clip specifically we recorded down in San Diego. And this is a clip of us talking about humor and filthy humor, unforgivable jokes and words. And it's pretty raunchy and a lot of fun, and I love the episode, so if you haven't checked it out, it's in the description below. Enjoy. Brazilians was doing goddamn slavery until like 1930.
According to Elder,
Muslims is still doing
Elder,
it. Muslims
there were a
love
lot of
slavery.
Everybody was enslaved. White people, Irish people.
Poor brown people. Let's protect them from being adults. Go fuck yourself.
Well, let's not. Okay, hold on. Let's not attack somebody whose grandmother might have actually died in the Holocaust. Okay, we don't.
But define attack.
We don't have to poo-poo them or make fun of them. We don't have to invalidate their pain to acknowledge that we also have pain.
True, but jokes is jokes.
Or that jokes is jokes, but I think you can still be funny without making fun of Grandmama. Like Grandmama.
What if she's acting like a real faggot?
Well, no, but the thing is, she died. That's the thing.
Listen. My grandmother died, not in the Holocaust, but my grandmother died a number of months ago. If someone wants to make a joke about my grandma, it's a joke. You know what I mean? It's a joke.
No, I get it. I get it from a joking standpoint. I feel like that you can offend somebody like, hey, fag. Like, I was just kidding. Like, well,
no,
people
there's
get
definitely
beat up over that word.
Sure,
people get baseball bats.
There's bad intentions for sure. But again, principle before personality. I'm saying the intention should be if you're going to take umbrage and say, hey, what the fuck was that about, is the intention.
Okay.
There's a difference between Richard Spencer making a black joke and me making a black joke.
That's a really good point about
you know what I mean?
Intention.
It's intention.
Because
but we cannot delineate. I don't know your life. So if I run into you on the street and you tell me a black joke, I'm going to be like, hey, what the fuck? Because I don't really know you. And I understand that. I don't trust this motherfucker. But if they're a fucking comedian, if they're a podcaster, if they're a fucking... Like, once you know them a little bit, you know what I mean? I would rather give them the benefit of the doubt to at the very least, not legally stop them from saying what they're saying or punish them for what they're saying. Free speech fucking for all.
And again, we've gone way too far on the pendulum.
Right.
But I don't know that there's like a non-offensive way to say fag or faggot. I mean,
I've done it pretty well, I think.
I don't know. I might disagree. I mean,
there are gay people listening to the show right now who are unoffended.
Well, I'm not saying that all gay people would be offended or that it's even an offensive thing. I guess I am saying it's an offensive thing. That there's no way to say fag in a joke.
But let's look at the intention.
That's not offensive.
Well, no. I disagree. Because what was my intention for saying it now? To use hyperbole in order to make me and you and mostly me and the people listening laugh. I was pointing at the fences like Babe Ruth and going, watch what I just did. Isn't that so awful? It wasn't actually making fun of gay people. It's saying, look at how horrible the thing I just said. Isn't that funny? It came out of nowhere. And what humor is the element of surprise.
Okay, so on that note, you're killing it. And furthermore, the reason... No, seriously.
Patreon.com
because you're really smart. You're of a smart sense of humor. I think if there were gay people around, you would still be yourself. You would still say the things you say. And that, to me, that's the kicker.
But I
if
would not...
If you look
but
around
I also,
to see if there's a black person before you say your black joke, that's how you know it's wrong.
No, I don't
That's
think
how you
so.
check in with yourself.
Did you listen to the Bruce episode?
Maybe.
It was episode, I think, 10. 89-year-old man, I think he's 90 now, atheist, who was a former Episcopalian priest. We talked about him starting this certain spiritual group in Cuba and in China and bringing these certain spiritual books out there with these certain spiritual people. It's a fucking phenomenal episode.
Wow.
It's an hour of slow, introspective, quiet, no cussing. I didn't want to cuss on the entire fucking show. I didn't say nigger, I didn't say faggot, I didn't say nothing. But that was just as much me as me right here, right now. But context does matter. Now, if I'm looking over my shoulder because I actually do hate black people and I want to say a black joke, that's one thing. But I'm also, if I'm going to be around a gay person who I don't know, I'm not going to say that word because I don't know them. Just like if I go to my fucking grandma's house, I'm not going to be like myself here. But I am just myself over there as I am here. We're prismatic.
Yeah. I want to be myself all the time. I want to be the same consistent person all the time. But I kind of clean it up at work, and then I clean it up around relatives or
right. But
I
don't
always
think that's
let myself
inauthentic. I think that's just code switching, if you will.
Code switching? Mm-hmm. Not familiar with that one.
Code switching is like where if I'm around black people, I start kind of talking a little different. If if I go to the fucking country club, I don't talk the same way. But I'm not being inauthentic, or at least on purpose. At the very least, I'm just what we're doing as humans. We're being social. We fit in with our groups wherever we're at. And if it's a group I don't fucking know, me at a wedding, me performing at a wedding, I show up fucking early. Right? And I'm dressed nice, and I'm my best behavior because I want these people to feel good. I'm not who I am on the podcast. On the podcast, these long forms, especially with you or my brother or Jake or these people, I'm my fucking self, right? But
for sure,
we have to fit into different facets of life. We need to find way. Right? We need to. You came up with it.
It's this guy in LA, a teacher.
But we need to fit ourselves, into the blocks that we're around in order to be of service. You know what I mean? And I'm being of service by saying faggot. I'm being of service.
I can't argue with it. I mean, no, because that's the problem with arguing with somebody who's smart is you end up losing.
Why are you?
Don't cut yourself. Don't sell yourself short. You're really smart, and your perspective is unique.
Thank you.
I think we should wrap it up soon, but I did want to think of one thing that is related to our underlying tone this episode of who's going to win. Well, poop.
But who's going to? Oh, the pendulum.
The pendulum swinging and the election and
right.
So I was at a Phil's Coffee, my favorite coffee shop, Phil's Coffee.
They're down here?
They are. They're also all over Southern L.A., but there's 3 down here in San Diego. But anyways, I was at one in San Francisco.
Right.
And everything it fills is either compostable or recyclable.
Sure.
And I was not fully aware that the green one was for the compost and the blue one was for the recycling because I'm from San Diego.
Right.
And we don't have that.
Right.
And I was in San Francisco for the fucking weekend.
Right.
So when I walked up to the trash cans and stuttered for a second while I looked at the cans to try to figure it out, the fucking hipster local mad dogged me because I didn't know which bin. I didn't immediately know which bin to use.
Right.
First of all, go fuck yourself.
Right.
Second of all, I'm not from here. We don't have this. It's not a law for us like in San Francisco. It's a law to compost. If you don't compost your residential trash, you get fined by the city.
Right.
I don't have that in Carlsbad.
Right.
So I'm sorry. But that type of attitude is going to end up very detrimental to the cause.
Right.
You alienate if you're gonna alienate me, dude, I'm on your fucking team, bro. Don't alienate me.
I hate the environment. I don't mind. No, I'm just kidding.
No, dude. And on that note, the environment is fucked.
Yeah.
The big three for me is
I don't
like
disagree with
China, India, and the ocean. What the military does to the ocean. This might have even come up last podcast. Right. Military just dumps their trash into the ocean because it would be cost prohibitive to carry a second boat behind them with all their trash. So they dump it in the ocean. So you go have your beach cleanup day. That's very good. Go clean up the straws, the poor fucking turtles. I get it.
No.
I'm a practical person.
Paper straws are the devil. I would rather turtles die by the millions. I would rather a turtle suck a straw into his nose and die than have this wet, limp little.
Can we go middle ground like Starbucks? Like Starbucks with the nitro cup. It's it's like a big mouth lid. You just drink.
I want
right
a goddamn
out of it.
sippy cup.
It's really good. It's a really
33 years.
It's a really nice pour. It's better than a straw. In fact, I don't even use a straw anymore now.
And it is a little effeminate. They're like, hey, who was that joke? I think it was Dana Carvey. A real masculine man, is looking like yeah, and then.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
this one looks more like a Mickey's Big Mouth. So you're seriously. So we're already fucked. So you go ahead and have your pretentiousness about me because I don't know green and blue. Right. Meanwhile, the fucking house is burning down right next door.
Right. Exactly.
We're 5% of the trash. We're 5% of
we're
the
feminists.
We're 5% of
how the Muslims won't let you wear what you fucking want, will stone you to death, but get worried because a professor. Did you hear about that professor who made a light joke in an elevator and lost his? I think he lost his job because of it. He said,
"What is happening?"
He said, "Level 3 lingerie," and it's a stupid dad joke. It's a nothing joke. It's a throwaway line. And there was a feminist author in the fucking. There was a columnist in the elevator with him. Oh my God! Got him in trouble because of that.
It's almost like you need to be recorded all the time. You
Me?
need like
amazing.
No, I mean like a bot. That's not what I meant. Nice try, narcissist boy.
How dare
I mean,
you?
like we need
humble.
like body cams, all of us. Because that teacher should be able to show the context of what happened in that elevator and not lose his job.
Wasn't that fun? Love Peter from Carlsbad. Great episode. Now, next up we have a clip from episode 9 in which Trinity and I are talking about the Me Too movement and if we should believe all women. Enjoy.
The Me Too movement?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Is that like when that was going out, like what's so funny?
I'm just ready for what's
going to happen. You know what I'm talking about because it's annoying, right? The Me Too, right? It's so am I wrong? And I could be wrong on what it's about.
I just appreciate that you're talking. I didn't say it this time. That's all I'm saying.
No, and like I said, I could be wrong. But isn't it about like, okay, it's people that have been either raped or molested or is that correct?
Sexual harassment
victim. Right.
Sure.
Right. And it's all this Me Too shit, right? Sure. So what happened around that time? Do you remember the guy from Palo Alto, the actor from Palo Alto?
James Franco.
Yeah. Right. Who I adore.
I think he's a very handsome boy. But I never learned the story. There's a few of the people I didn't learn the story. So do you know what the story is?
No, I know half the story, right?
Okay, so tell us what the half of the story is.
So the half of the story is supposedly he was like some scumbag that like made a girl, like sexually harassed a girl, blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
From what I understand, the story was actually he offered this chick a part if she gave him head.
Okay.
Right? And she did. So...
and then she got the part.
I don't know. Like I said,
okay.
I only know half of everything I'm talking about. But
right.
But my point is, he may be like, okay, maybe he's a scummy.
Right.
Maybe sleazy.
Sure.
But not like a rapist in any form. You know what I mean? Because he, she did it.
Right.
To get ahead.
Well, see, but that's the thing is that the people are conflating those two things. They're blurring the lines between, okay, he's a womanizer,
right,
and he's a rapist. There's a big fucking difference between those two things.
Right.
But these days, it's like, James Franco or who was the other one? Aziz Ansari. I don't like his comedy. The little skinny Indian boy, Aziz Ansari.
Okay.
He was in Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kid. You saw what happened. So apparently he was on a date, and I'm going to butcher it too because I only know half truths.
Right.
But fuck having humility. Let's just jump into it like we know exactly what we're talking about all the times. And like this is the judgment. I need a gavel of some kind. But like, so he went on a date with a girl, and it was going okay. She came back to his place. Ding, ding, ding. But anyway, we'll get to that. But like, she went back to his place, and he makes a move, and it, like, she didn't really reciprocate, and she was like, no, I don't, no. And then so he like kind of, he made another move, and then it's just like, and then she sucked his dick, even though she like she had initially said no once or twice,
right.
But not no, I'm going to get up and leave.
Right.
Just no, like, no, I shouldn't, and I don't, no, and I'm just not, but she didn't leave. He didn't kick her out. Now that,
right.
I mean, I'm sorry, but like, do you know how many times that's happened to me? Like,
right.
And then found out later on, I just needed to approach it a different way, or I just needed to be a little more aggressive, or a little nicer, or a little this, or a little that.
Right.
Like, we never know. There is a no, and you fucking respect it.
Right.
But sometimes a no is just like that song, I really can't stay. That's not a rapey song. Like, people have been saying, do you remember the lyrics? Let me look up the lyrics. Hang on. Let's get a fucking official.
I don't know what you're talking about. But what was the guy?
Baby, It's Cold Outside? You never heard that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
People
the Christmas
say,
song.
Yeah, the Christmas song. People
Right.
say that that's a rapey song.
Isn't that a Christmas song?
Well, yeah, but,
I don't know how rape gets out of Christmas, but I don't even. But what did that guy? So what was the saying? Like, what was the rumors about that actor?
Well, so he got in trouble.
Somebody?
Right, he got in trouble because she said he pushed even though she said no, and he didn't respect her for saying no.
Yeah.
So lyrics said, "Baby, I really can't stay. I've got to go away. This evening has been so very nice. My mother will start to worry. Beautiful, what's your hurry? My father will be pacing the floor." The girl's saying, listen to the fireplace roar is what he's saying. So really, I'd better scurry. Hang on, where's the really rapey part that people say that it's rapey?
I've never heard that.
The neighbors might think, baby, it's bad out there. So what's in this drink? She's not actually saying that he roofied her. She's saying she's fighting an internal struggle because she wants to leave, but she wants to stay.
Yeah.
She's trying to be a good girl and get out of there because it's, and he's like, hey, it's cold outside. Come on, baby.
Right.
Come on, baby. And she's fighting a struggle against herself, saying, I should go, come on, Samantha, you said not to be a slut last time. Like, you're going to be a good girl this time. But she's saying, she's not literally saying what's in this drink. Like,
Well, this was pre-roofied time anyway, wasn't it?
Probably.
Isn't this an old song?
Oh, yeah.
It's
from
super old. I don't think there was roofies happening.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Maybe that. I guess back in the day they didn't need to. They would just they just rough you up. I guess. But I'm just saying, like, there are some things we all immediately like hear, or we see on a post, or we hear we hear a half truth, and then we make a judgment on. Anytime I hear a bunch of people all believing one thing, I immediately, for some reason, I'm just like, that's not, that's why that, baby, it's cold outside came into my head. I'm sorry. I'm just going off on a tangent now. I don't know. But, so what, you're saying that, what's your opinion about the James Franco thing?
Oh, well, he's not, like, my opinion is just she willingly did it to get ahead in her career.
Right.
So it's just because like we said, he may be a womanizer, or he may be like kind of a sleazy dude, but he's not like, like she was a willing participant.
Right.
But what I get upset about is, I don't even know how to articulate this well, but women are so worried about like, being, like not being respected, or the or the Me Too movement or something like that. Right. But it's like, but you're actually like putting this is so bad. They're putting themselves in a position to be like victimized. Like I'm a female. Like there's absolutely no way unless somebody puts a gun to my head. Right. I'm not like, if I don't want to do it, I'm not fucking doing it. Right. And I'm not a victim in that sense. Like,
and I feel like most of the time you kind of know that, especially like with the Aziz Ansari thing, where like, okay, this guy asked me up to his room. If I actually, not that you can't change your mind in the middle and go like, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want. And if that's legit, it's legit. You don't fucking push if it's legit.
Right.
But I've had times where, like I said, like where I can tell the difference between, no, I'm serious, I gotta go, versus like, no, we're making out, like touching titties, okay, but then you put your hand, you make a move for the panties, and like, no, she stopped. She's like, okay, but then we keep making out, and like another 10, 15, I'm like, okay, make another move, and that time it works. It's not because I'm an evil person. It's not because she's a slut. It's because, I don't know, it's fucking nature. Like there needs to be some sort of a courting process and stuff. And as far as that, I think the ultimate thing is not like, what was she wearing or anything crazy like that necessarily, but, and this goes, I kind of equate it in some ways to the racial thing in some ways, but bottom line, like, just let's keep it one controversial topic at a time.
Right.
I don't see women as fragile flowers.
Correct. Me neither.
You're responsible for your decisions just like I'm responsible. Yes, my biceps are bigger, and push comes to shove, I could be an evil piece of shit prick and rape somebody. But ultimately, I think most women kind of know, if I'm going up to this guy's apartment, I kind of I'm interested in something. You know what I mean? Like even with the Louis C.K. thing, like, oh yeah, come to my apartment. Why would you do that if you did not know that some sort of sexual thing could happen? If you're older than 19, or even younger, and whatever, but like you kind of know, and that's part of the other reason why I thought about having you on. I hadn't thought about it intentionally, but like I appreciate women who are honest about their sexual beings, not the body or the history or whatever, but just like the fact that like, no, I'm a perv and I know pervs. And also, and that women who don't see women as like, like that whole idea of like, believe all women. It's like, I know some crazy ass bitches. Like,
what do you mean believe all women? What's that?
There are some people in that Me Too movement who say like, believe all women.
Oh, no matter what they say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I personally know, because I do know a lot of crazy people. Yeah. So as you do. Women that have gotten pissed. Right.
Right.
Women that, and they've told me this, and of course I'm not going to say it, but they've gotten pissed off at somebody, and because they broke up with them or whatever the situation was, but have purposely, falsely accused them of rape because they're mad. Right. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that men haven't done that either. I'm just saying, like, people do this shit, like, all the time, Right. And so...
or lie about a baby, or lie about, yeah. Can you see my nose hairs? I'm wondering. Wasn't that a wonderful conversation? Next up is a clip from episode 78. Episode 78 is the third time that I had the good girl on the show. The good girl is a pervert, an anonymous pervert. You should go check out her other 2 episodes, also very juicy. And in this clip specifically from episode 78, we talk about abortion and unplanned pregnancy from firsthand experience. Enjoy.
Unwanted pregnancy.
Oh, I've had one of those.
What was your experience with that? How old were you?
I was 15, and I was 3 months pregnant, and I had no idea. I ended up in the hospital with appendicitis, and they did first, they ran a bunch of tests. One, found out that I was pregnant, and 2, they did an ultrasound to determine how old the baby was, and I was 3 months pregnant. And then they said, we need to take you into exploratory surgery right now. You have a massive infection and probably your appendix, but we're not sure. And then they drugged me up and wheeled me back into the surgery prep room, whatever. Right. And then the surgeon and the anesthesiologist told me while they were in there, they were going to give me an abortion. Didn't even ask me if that's what I wanted. Didn't even, they just told me that's what they were going to do because I was having surgery, so there could be something wrong with the baby. And I mean, I was 15. You can look at me and be like, okay, this kid's a mess. Right. Last thing she needs is a baby.
So that didn't come from your parents at the time. That came from the doctors just assuming that that's what they were going to do.
Yeah, and actually the one thing that I give my mom credit for because like there are not a lot of kind things that I have to say about my mother, but I couldn't speak because they had doped me up. I literally couldn't even speak up for myself. I was just like, and I was trying to argue with them, and they weren't having it.
Do you remember it? Do you remember?
I remember it. I remember. And what my mom said was she just found out she's pregnant. I had just seen the ultrasound. She had like a heart and fingers and toes and was a baby, you know? And now they're saying we're going to give you an abortion, and I didn't even have a choice. And my mom said she just found out if the baby is still alive after the surgery, then she can make the decision. And they were like, well, she needs to make it fast because she's already 3 months pregnant, blah, blah, blah. And they were really concerned about, I think they were concerned something would have been wrong with the baby, and then I would have sued them or something.
So you feel like it was, I mean, maybe not good intentions, but you feel like it was from the intention of wanting to protect the liability of the hospital more than anything?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, you know, I didn't even know when I woke up from surgery, because it was emergency surgery in the middle of the night, and it was my appendix, and I was fine. But I didn't even know if I was still pregnant. I was like, am I, you know, like, is there still a baby? I don't know. And then everybody had an opinion. My mom really wanted me to give the baby up for adoption. My dad actually met with an attorney to see if he could force me to have an abortion. Baby's daddy was freaking out because the one thing his dad had said to him was, I don't care how much you think you love this girl, do not get her pregnant. And then I was pregnant. He did not want to disappoint his dad.
Quick question. Was there any legal right for your father to tell you to get an abortion?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. So I just said I want to have it. I want to have the baby. I don't, you know. And
did you know that before you got pregnant or before you found out? Was it something that you were ready for, or something you thought you were ready for?
No.
Okay.
I wasn't trying to have a kid. I was a mess. I was not. Yeah.
You were drinking, using at the time.
Yeah. Drinking, using. I mean, I was homeless. I mean,
right.
you know, like that. I could see why not ideal. I could see why people were concerned about the idea of
really
me having a baby.
Is it your baby, or is it the state's and your parents?
Oh, my parents were really concerned they're going to get stuck.
Their baby,
right?
Yeah.
They're going to get stuck with a kid, and my dad was going through a midlife crisis. I mean, he was. I was 15, so my parents were really young, in their late 30s, and they were not excited about being grandparents in their late 30s. And there's a plane. Yeah. So and then baby's daddy's parents were they were Pentecostal. You don't have abortions if you're Pentecostal, but what they said, if you give the baby up for adoption, you have to give it to us. They wanted it.
I thought he was the one who initially said don't have
He
this.
was the one who initially said don't get her pregnant. But once I was already pregnant, they absolutely were really supportive of me having the baby, but they wanted her. So and I thought, I can't give her up for adoption and then know where she is and have her living in the same city as me, and you know that didn't. So yeah, it's crazy.
Do you feel like your perspective changed on it now versus back then? Like, would you have been able to give it up, do you feel?
No, I think seeing the ultrasound changed everything. If I had not have seen the ultrasound, it's possible that I could have not recognized it as, like, you know, a baby. But it was a baby. I wasn't like 3 weeks pregnant. I was 3 months pregnant. It was obvious.
Right.
So
now that's first term. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people in the abortion, like I've dunked, as people of the fans of the podcast know, I've dunked my head in a lot of this abortion stuff over the last year, and first term seems to be the consensus, even with pro-choicers, even with a lot of them anyway, the pro-choicers that feel like, okay, as long as it's within the first term, like that's around about. So, like as an example,
the baby's not viable,
right? And in the 6 month or. San Jose's weird. In the 6 week thing, like Alabama recently passed that 6 week. If you have up to 6 weeks. Number one, you were 3 months. You didn't even know that you were pregnant, and even though it did have a heartbeat and all that stuff, you didn't know you were pregnant. And number two, a lot of people feel like the first term is good. Where do you currently see yourself and your opinion on it?
I've been thinking a lot about the New York decision. Like, you can have an abortion in your third trimester, and I think that's absolute insanity.
Right.
That's a viable baby.
Right.
I mean, I can't even imagine conditions where that's okay. That's a no for me.
Right.
And I don't know about the late term abortions as far as, if the mother's life is in jeopardy. I don't know about that as much, right? I don't know. But like in general, no.
Well, in Virginia, they were even worse than that. They were the governor was saying, well, if it's outside the womb, but it's still, if it's outside the womb, but they were trying to abort it. If it comes out, the mother and the doctor can make that decision.
That's so disgusting. I can't even. So, and this is coming from somebody who I probably, if I had not, if I hadn't gotten sick and needed surgery, who knows how long it would have been before I would have known that I was pregnant.
Right.
I mean, I might have been one of those girls having a baby in the garage going, I didn't even know I was pregnant. And you always go, how does that happen? But believe me, denial is real. And I was loaded, so I was sick a lot. I was out of my mind. I was not, I was not clear-headed. I was in a horrible living situation. I was,
the relationship was probably not
stable. No, there was no stability. I was insane. I mean, none of it was good. So I see how, that happened. And I could even imagine if it's rape, how many more, or incest, or how much more that puts into the mental, whatever. So what I do know is that I think abortion's awful, and the women I know that have done it have suffered because of it, and they would agree that it's awful, and nobody wants to do it. Now, I mean, I don't know anybody who's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go walk down to the corner and get an abortion. It's awful. It feels awful. It is awful. I don't know anybody who does it lightly or has done it lightly. But I never want to be the one to dictate who gets to have one and who doesn't and for what reasons and for, that's none of my business.
Right.
Right? Everybody has to deal with the consequences of their own decisions.
Right.
So that's pretty much where I stand with that.
Right.
I mean, to me, it makes sense at heartbeat to say, okay, no more abortions. I can understand a little bit more, okay, the baby's viable. Absolutely not, right? And I know people who've been born at 4 months, and they're okay. They have some serious complications from that, but,
right.
But and if I think about the idea of my daughter not being born, like, she's a really good human being, and she's doing good things on this planet. She did not have an easy beginning. And I don't know, she's amazing. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine what my life would be like, or I can't imagine the world without her. I mean, right. She was supposed to be here.
Right. Can you feel kicking at 3 months? Like, when you look back and when you were told...
No, I didn't.
Okay, you didn't feel like, oh, that's what that feeling
I'm trying
is.
to think when kicking starts. Is that 4 months where you start to... I don't know. Dude, it's been a long time. Thank God. Yeah. And I didn't want to... I mean, having a baby that early was incredibly painful. I did not want to have another one, so I figured out how to not have another one until I was ready.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, you can tie the tubes and then untie the tubes and.
Well, I mean, I just got Norplant, which was like amazing.
I don't even know what the hell that is.
It's an implant in your arm. You don't even have to take a
Wow.
pill. It just pumps those hormones right into you. Fantastic.
Really? What does that do to the period?
Oh, I didn't have one. Ooh, it's
For years?
For 5 years. Oh.
So why would they do that, or why would they do an IUD instead of that then? Like,
So
why would they put the little copper thing in the uterus?
So the IUDs usually they only give to women now who have already had kids, because you can have some pretty serious complications from IUDs. I currently have my tubes tied because I don't want any more kids, and it's the best. Sterilization is like the best way. It's like, but still, there's still a risk I could get pregnant.
Sure.
Ugh.
Right.
But I
yeah,
think
there's so much complication to it. Even pregnancies inside the fallopian tubes.
yeah,
and all
that's
kinds
especially with sterilization. That's actually one of the big. I think it's like a 1% chance I can get pregnant, and in that 1% chance, there's a 30% chance it'll be a fallopian tube, pregnancy, which has to be aborted or else
Right.
it'll kill you. I mean,
Right.
so yeah, so women and their doctors make decisions about
Right.
which hormones they're best on.
Right.
If you don't do well with an implant, then you have to go get it taken out.
Yeah, I was with a girl. She did not have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the doctor together, and I held her hand while she got it put in her. And it's slightly painful, really painful for some girls.
Mm-hmm.
But the only complication she had, I think, is that I when we were fucking, I could feel the little strings.
Yeah.
It would sometimes be like, ow? I'm not sure if this is ow. I think it's ow. Yeah, this is weird.
Well, Planned Parenthood put in my Norplant. It goes right in your arm.
Right.
And then you have to go back 5 years later and have it taken out. That was the bad part.
Could you get it taken out before?
Yes.
Okay.
You can. Yeah.
Okay. And then that first period, was it just like, was it just
No, I don't remember
raining?
it, so it must not have been.
Okay, that's good. How many periods in a woman's life do they remember? Oh man, remember
No.
the blizzard of '97? Like,
I think you're just. I think it's genetic. What type of periods you have? I think.
Interesting.
Right.
Okay.
Some women have some serious, heavy, like awful periods,
Right.
and some not so much. So.
Right. Couple of things. Number one, we're just talking about abortion, puppy. Number one, maybe I'll get to the other point, but as far as not getting, or it not being your business, I can understand that, but I kind of feel like it isn't. Now, this is a sticky situation, as all of the topics on my fucking show are, but I feel like if it's a living thing, which at a certain point, it's even if it's not viable, it's technically still a living thing. It's a weird example, but what if I really wanted to kill somebody really bad, and me and a doctor made the decision that I was allowed to pump this motherfucker full of a bullet, right? Technically, it still wouldn't be your business because you're not a part of this exchange between the doctor, I, and the guy who I'm shooting in the face. But even though it's not your business, that person is still a person. So I don't technically get to, like the government currently is in charge of stopping people from killing other people, right?
Right.
Like that's their only, it's bloated and all that shit, but that's their job, is to keep safety and keep everybody alive, and you're not allowed to kill nobody and don't steal and blah, blah, blah. But if it's a living thing, I feel like I do get a vote on that. Because if it's a living thing, which is what this whole thing is about, which is why the super, super, super left is wanting to say it's not a living thing, it's not a living thing, no, you can kill it, whatever. But if it is, then wouldn't it make sense for it to be everybody's business?
So it's interesting because I had a philosophy professor talk about how you need to make sure that your values are consistent. If you're pro-life, then you should also be anti-capital punishment, right?
Sure.
And then the same is true for, end of life, right? If someone is suffering in their end of life, do you let them, take a little extra morphine and end the process quicker, or do you make them suffer the entire time? I think it can't be. I don't want to be responsible for making those decisions for anybody else.
Wasn't that a very interesting conversation? Lucky for you, I'm a very interesting man. Really, you are blessed to get to have me in your life. You lucky fuck. Next up is a clip from episode 125. This is a clip from an episode I did with Jess the Prequel. Loved Jess the Prequel, also a perverted female, and kind of a Instagram memer, an entrepreneur, and also a men's rights activist. And so in this clip, we talk specifically about men's rights, and enjoy.
So we'll start wrapping up because I really appreciate you taking the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's a show. But I did one of the things on this kind of same topic. You do talk a lot about, not a lot, but you do mention the struggles that men go through.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be an important piece for you.
It is.
Now, do you feel like you allowed yourself to be more open to that idea because you don't hate us as much as you because you've been around masculine dudes who let you be feminine? What do you feel like was that what helped?
That's all my mom. My mom is a men's rights attorney and specifically father's rights. The family law system is very biased towards moms. It's gotten better. But she started in the 80s, and that was when, kids were a paycheck, and if you were lucky, you got to see them, but it was just incredibly biased. And I remember being 8 years old and going to protests with my mom for letting dads have more rights with their children. And, she getting death threats from, feminist organizations and stuff like that. It was no joke. So that's just what I grew up with is, that yes, and it was never this idea that women again are less than, and that we should obviously, she was a single mom and she went through Stanford Law School as a single mom, so I grew up with a strong female role model. But her whole thing was guys have struggles too. There are flaws in the system where they are systematically held down as well. We never fucking hear about that. And on top of that, especially with these fourth wave feminists, they're so fucking hypocritical. They're some of the biggest perpetrators of toxic masculinity that they fucking scream about. And it drives me crazy because they're the ones that downplay and dismiss men's mental health and calling men pussies and calling acting like men's health doesn't matter, while conveniently ignoring the statistics that men are killing themselves at astronomical rates because we're not addressing their mental health needs. And I think that is such fucking hypocrisy, and it's such a critical issue that needs to be addressed. So I would say that it started out because that's just how I was raised and who I was raised with or raised by. And then from there, it kind of deviated sort of into my own, just experiences and what I've observed in the world. And then obviously when I went through the stuff with my husband and his own mental health issues, I was looking for resources for him. I was reading every book I could get my hands on about depression and suicide. And that really opened my eyes up to what a widespread issue it is. So I think it was kind of just all of those things that came together that's made it continue to be an important platform to me.
That's a really, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
It's, have you faced backlash from people on Instagram?
Oh, fuck yes. Instagram, Twitter. It's almost always from women. who think I'm trying to be that one of those, like, not like the other girls, like, oh, I defend men and I like football and I don't hang out with girls ever. Like that girl, that's what they think I'm trying to be. And
which is essentially a girl who's attention seeking. Please fuck me, please love me.
Right. And I'm like, that to me proves my point that the only way a woman could possibly be on the side of men is because she's wanting validation from them. It can't possibly be that there's actually a valid need.
Right. Yeah, it reminds me of a lot of as far as two things. But as a quick aside, I have met bull dykes who I love to death, friends of mine, who will talk endlessly about turning out straight girls and being pretty goddamn toxically masculine to straight girls about like, well, it's just this until you know, so is spaghetti until it gets wet, and like being like really fucking aggressive.
Yeah.
And a guy does it is like, how dare you, you know? So that's the number motherfucker.
Yeah.
And number two, there's a lot of, you know, as you know, the name of the show is Conservatish. And the main reason why I called it that is because it's more catchy than the Peter Feliciano podcast. But also because in the Bay Area, not so much in New York, but in the Bay Area, it is really hard to humanize a motherfucker who is outside of the Bay Area politics of the party line. And I have a very close family member who's a lesbian who voted for, right? I have been to Oklahoma and I've seen haggles of conservatives running around, and everyone's kind of nice still, like they're okay. Like there's black kids running around and gay kids running around. It's like it's not the fucking 80s anymore. And I wanted to have a place where I could talk about being conservative, where like, how can't I like gay people and guns? Like, do I have to fucking pick a side, you know?
Yes, you have to.
And I've had black men on my show who are fans of Trump, who will get called coon, who will get called Uncle Tom, who will get called all kinds of shit, not just from black people online, but also from white people.
Yeah.
Because they like Trump or because they're conservative. And so it reminds me of that same thing where we have these principles, we're these feminists, or we're these liberals, we have these principles until they don't, and we're happy to break those principles if it serves our purpose, if it serves our team.
Right.
And if you do not put a principle above the personality, you do not believe in the principle. If you don't believe in free speech, if you believe in free speech up until this, you don't really believe in free speech.
Right.
You know? And honestly, and there's nothing really that fucking, I mean, I'm not going to have a genuine white supremacist on my show. Shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Like, that's not interesting, nor would I want to, you know what I'm saying? No, I mean, I'm fucking half Puerto Rican. Why the fuck would I have so like, but I did want to have a place where a platform can be where we can be equals, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's important to hear, I mean, have you seen that video? What's that video? There's this one men's rights activist who does a TED talk, who also gets death threats, and she went into interviewing all these men's rights activists, these men, with the idea she's gonna meet the enemy. Did you see that TED talk?
No.
It's pretty interesting. I'll send it to you. She goes to these guys because she's a journalist and she wants to see the underbelly of these douchebags and these rapists who are awful men's rights activists. And she starts interviewing these guys, and she notices after a little bit of time that she's not actually listening to any of them. She's waiting to hear buzzwords so that she can spin it a certain way inside her head. She's waiting to hear buzzwords so that she can justify the expectation that she went into these interviews with. But then something cracked in her, and she started realizing, oh, yeah, the suicide rate. Oh, divorce. Oh, children. I mean, there's a lot of shit, and this isn't a teeter-totter. This is not like men have it bad and therefore women have it better, and like who's worse. Right. There's enough shit to go around. You
Absolutely.
Know this is not a zero-sum game, and and when there's blood happening, i.e., suicide. Let's stop the bleeding. Let's stop the hemorrhaging. That's more, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. People are dying it has to stop, and it has to be, the other thing too is people react when you make them feel defensive. I think I want to say Eleanor Roosevelt has this great quote where in the end, whatever your cause is, people won't remember the cause, they'll remember how you made them feel about it. And I know guys that I have turned, I hate to say that word, but when they first come to my page and they don't yet know what I'm about, and they're immediately defensive because that's just kind of the posture they're used to taking online with women. And when I talk to them, or I'll reach out to them and I'll be like, hey, like, this is the pro men page, like, we're cool here, like, blah blah blah, the quickness with which they drop that facade and are like, this is so great, thank you. It's almost like we come online with our hackles up, and if we're actually just stop being assholes, I think a lot of the I look at the feminists are all over Twitter, the fourth waves, and they're so fucking, like, you can't even talk to them, you can't reason with them, it's anger. And it's like, this is why guys are assholes to you online. It's not because they hate women as a whole. They hate who you're being. And can you please stop fucking representing all women when you speak, because you're pissing them all off to all of us, and here's the thing. Online, like, this is what I love about my community is when there are truly, true, genuine assholes come to my page. Mm-hmm. If a guy comes to my page and starts fucking with me, my followers, the guys are on him. They dogpile him and they're on him in a minute. And it's like, women, like, when you're actually nice to guys and not a pushover, I'm not saying that, but when you validate their experience and their existence and see them, they're actually pretty fucking great, and they rise to the occasion and be the men that they are wanting to be. Yes.
Next up is a clip from episode 106. This is the last clip for the day. And this clip is from an episode that I had a conversation with an anonymous San Francisco teacher. And in this clip, we talk specifically about how white guilt hurts black students. Enjoy. Too often the identity of the kid, instead of changing the way, because I genuinely believe if you grow up in a household with a mom who's alpha dog, and then you come to a school with, I'm not talking about you, but with a tiny little white lady. Yeah. With a tiny little white lady who's like, and now, excuse me, Tyrell, please. I said please. Like, it's not going to work, right? Yeah. And rather than change the way we act to the kids, or change the way, I'm not suggesting put black kids in teachers, like, make sure only black teachers teach black kids. But I'm saying factoring not just learning styles, but consequence styles and discipline styles for each of the kids that may work. It turns into, this should be a one-stop shop for everybody, and that's not the case.
Yeah.
And not just that, but alpha dog for some tiny little white kid would probably be too much, right? Yeah. So it's like, okay, how do we change this for each?
And make it a place of learning for everyone. First, I've appreciated the conversations that we've gotten to have over time about education and race and politics, because it all is, education is politics. And
you should put that on a bumper sticker.
And that was one of my things. So at the school in the school I was at, or the district, like, oh gosh, so basically they did all these statistics, and black kids were getting suspended, being put out of class more, like, at much higher rates than any other population. And so they like, this is a red flag, like, what's going on? They're missing out in class time. They want bringing them back in the classroom. So
you said they were missing out on class time, and they weren't being brought back into the...
No, they want, so that it's like, how do we fix this? How do we stop these especially young black girls were getting suspended, like, and like you said, like, it could be like just different ways communicating,
of communicating,
and so it's like you see a
intimidation,
behavior of a young black girl,
right.
how she's saying something, and you're like, oh, that's in a threatening way. You're getting sent to the office, versus like a young white girl that might be saying the same thing, but her tone is different.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, you're differentiating
Right.
now, and
Right.
this girl's getting sent out when they're doing the same thing. So they want
Right.
like, how do we eliminate that? At the same time, there were several young black girls that could have been dyslexic.
Sure.
Had a hard time reading.
Sure.
I was there as a reading specialist. Had walls up, had masks on. Of this learned behavior. I don't want to be the stupid one.
Right.
I'm gonna have
and not just stupid, but I don't want to look like a punk. I don't want to look like a weakling.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like I care. God forbid I look like I care.
And so it's much easier to have up this front and this attitude, and instead of coming back around and bringing them into the class, it was kind of, and this was administration, and I just felt like this was so wrong that if they didn't want to engage, they didn't have to. And so there was a group of girls
that was the administration's standpoint. That was the way to get them back in the schools,
because they were, we tried
was to have no consequence.
Yeah, and so if the administration was going to try to get them engaged, there would be this really big blow up in class. It would interrupt the whole class, and so to avoid that, it was like, we're just not going to kind of go there. And so there was these girls that would sit in the back of the class, and they'd be on their phones, and you couldn't take their phones because they're personal property, and they'd be watching music videos. And to me, that was racist. Like, how can you? Yeah, these girls, like, they need to be able to feel confident and be able to read and write, and not have this block and all this perception too of like, I'm not able to do these. Yeah.
Or that the rules don't apply to me.
Yeah.
So here's my first question, because obviously you've heard me rant for hours, you poor thing, about all this white guilt shit. Do you feel like it was more white, and was it just the school, or was it a citywide kind of ordinance?
Citywide goal.
Okay, how do we get these kids back
into classes?
But did the directive of let's not give these kids any consequences, did that come from the city or from the school? Okay.
That came from the school.
Second question, because it could be a mix of both, or it could be one more, or definitely more than the other. Do you feel like that was more white guilt, or let's keep our numbers better so that we're not in trouble?
Oh, that's the second one, and teachers would talk about that.
So it was more, let's get our numbers good,
because then we're not suspending.
This was exactly.
This was your. This was
exactly.
That
this
we
was
would
your
talk about that with teachers of
San Francisco's
if there's
version.
nothing on paper,
Right.
then it doesn't. Then it
Right.
looks like our school is good because we don't have these suspensions.
Exactly.
But we're still not serving the child.
No.
Yeah.
So this was your version of No Child Left Behind. This was, okay, let's let this kid slip under the radar, because otherwise it's going to be a thing.
Yeah.
Now, I blame a couple of people. Number one, I blame white guilt. I think white guilt is one of the worst. White liberals in general, cover your ears, dear. White liberals are the fucking problem. And if you want to get mad at me, just know I have fooled around with dudes before. It's not my thing, but I've done little homosexual acts, and I am half Puerto Rican and a little bit of black. I'm only like 40% whitesies. So I have more moral authority than you. You fucking identity politics, fucking shithead. Okay, you can take your earmuffs off. So the reality is, white guilt is one of the worst things. It's just one of the worst things, because it not only doesn't serve the people. I mean, how do we keep teachers from becoming jaded if that's what happens? Because it sounds like it already kind of made you feel like at a loss.
It did, and it's interesting because for me, like how in the beginning you asked what made me want to be a teacher, and it's helping kids, and what I really love is the brain and like neurodiversity and like those odd kids, of letting them see their strengths.
Which is really cute, by the way. I see that. Even when you talk about it, you like you get this goofy smile. I like it.
For me, it wasn't the I guess it wasn't the political socioeconomic motivation, and there's some teachers that's their passion.
Really?
Like, and I
What do
and
you
I
mean?
like some of the teachers I worked with were really excellent, passionate. Like they wouldn't go to a private school because they're there to serve. Like they're there to teach the kids that don't have access to those.
Was it mostly white people?
No.
Okay.
No,
All right.
some, but
Okay.
but not. Oh,
So-
wait a minute. Some.
What do you mean?
I'm thinking back of like the different.
Only because, and I'm not saying they have bad intentions, but I'm saying, I think one of my working theories is that the only people who are super that type of warrior are either white people who feel guilty / that they're a savior, and militant like people of color who, I don't know, maybe they care, but also maybe it's just like it's nice to be around all these sad, like these apologetic white people because it feels powerful.
Peter, that's interesting.
Because it feels good when you're like the token black and you get to sway all of these white people with just like with a look or with raising your hand. I think we should be talking about blah blah blah. All of a sudden, yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so white. I'm so sorry. Like you get to sway all these people. So it's not just powerful. It's also being popular, and it's also a status. I know. Maybe it's not something that you talk about a lot or think about a lot, but
no, it's not. And it's just for me at my new school. I love showing up at work every day. I love the students I work with,
right.
and we have a diverse population, but it's a population with resources.
Right.
So it's still, we have different races, a big LGBT community, like
Right.
like we have that diversity, but it's coming from more abundance resources. So the students are coming from a different place, but it's centered around that individual. I want to. Like I think of like how people say like, oh, we're all special snowflakes. Like I don't
Right.
want to say like, oh, everyone's an individual like that. Like yes, we have to get through life. We have to do these certain things, but it is based on this. Hey, we all learn a different way. We
Right.
all have different strengths,
Right.
and that's my passion connection with teaching, is helping kids find that. It's not into the larger.
It's not the socioeconomics.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. So do you feel, going back to that question of, oh my, I'm dropping shit. Sorry. Hang on. Do you feel like it's more of a, hello dear. Do you feel like it's more of a, what is that weird look? Stop squeaking all the time. Do you feel like that's a, like when, I'd elaborate if you can on that idea of, do you feel like it's more white guilt, or do you feel like it's let's keep our name off the books? Like how would we combat that? I feel like personally it would kind of be impossible for someone who is white to change that.
I think so too.
It sucks. It's
Yeah.
unfair. But because of your identity,
I felt that felt that with those girls in there too, where I was like, I don't know, and that was a shitty feeling to feel as a teacher. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be the person to deliver this message because I'm the only reading specialist here. I happen to be a white blonde woman,
Right.
and like showing up liking yoga and hiking, and there wasn't this instant or natural reflection of seeing themselves in me, or and vice versa. Even though like, you know, the humanist, like not to be different, but I could see where some of the students are like, oh, who's this white woman coming in, like, teaching reading or whatever. And some of the kids, like when I had my small groups, like we had great relationships, and we were totally and like able
something
to,
shifts the group, the larger the group,
and that trust is built and everything, but it was challenging, and I kind of agree.
So, but you also had, you also said that you had experiences with, because some white people and some white women can be alpha and like wrangle everybody up because they have the personality.
Alpha.
How dirty do you want to get on this podcast? I'm not going to say what I was about to say, but suffice it to say, because there are some people, even if they're not black ladies, who can be like, hey, fucking put your fucking, not exactly that, but put your fucking phone away, or there's going to be motherfucking consequences, and you can feel it from my belly. The energy transfers from my face to your fucking face, and you do what I goddamn say. So number one, that happens from lots of different people, sure. But because I had I've had hard ass white teachers or whatever, but like, or from men. But you also said that those black girls who had their phones would listen more to a black female.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think it's because
that was my mentor teacher, and when she would be there, I was always amazed. And she had lots of teaching experience.
Yeah, do you feel like it was
amazing.
Also experience too? Or
and I feel like there was this relation too. Right. Yeah.
And maybe it's also,
and she had that FU stare down. I
Exactly.
still had to practice it.
Right.
But that was like, you're not gonna fuck around. This is class time. And it was like, I was like, how do you do that?
Right. So I think part of that
amazing.
is personality, but also it's not just, I see because I hate that shit of like, I saw myself in the Oscar in the movie, and that's why I knew I could make it. Shut up. There's been black people making it for fucking years.
Yeah.
Scientists and shit. But there wasn't a black shut the fuck up. It's excuses bullshit. Anyway, but I'm not saying it's not a factor, but if it's the factor, then you're being weak. I just like personal responsibility. I love it. Anyway, not that I, save money or act like an adult, but you know what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, part of it is I see myself, but the biggest part is that a black lady knows how to handle a black lady. Mm-hmm. It's not her identity. It's not the skin color. Oh, that's me, or I relate. It's this chick knows how to talk to a motherfucker, because that's part of black lady culture. Let's be real. Part of black lady culture is they're not afraid of someone catcalling. They're not raised like a bird sometimes, because sometimes, not all the time, white girls can be raised like little birds, and that's okay. We all have our strengths. But a black lady is like fucking ready to go on the fucking street, right? Not afraid to be assertive, right? So that's just culture difference. That's not race. That's culture difference, right? So why can't that be a factor? I'm not saying black teachers only to black kids, but I'm saying like, let's find a way that we can utilize whatever that shit is. If you're not going to get help from the parents, that sucks. But maybe there's a way. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do we get through that? Part of the way is to fucking do away with the white guilt. Do away with the fucking white guilt, because the reason why
that was another thing my mentor would always tell me, which I loved, and she was an amazing black woman. That she would always say, like, like, you're not a white savior. Like,
no, right? Because white guilt is white superiority,
and she was so good at calling bullshit for bullshit, and
white guilt is white superiority. These poor black kids can't help themselves. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I don't feel like just because you had lots of people had lots of bad childhoods. Worse off than I did, and I started drinking and using and stealing at a young age, and I was a neurotic energy suck, and not just monetarily, but in everything. And it wasn't, maybe it was because I was more sensitive or whatever, but suffice it to say, I don't blame my childhood for that. And I think ultimately responsibility or teaching them, hey, oh, you had bad shit, that's great. Now pick yourself up by your bootstraps and let's go. And not just pick yourself up by your bootstraps, because that's such an empty way to say it. There is so much love and support out there. Even in, I guarantee, even in a public school in Detroit or whatever, there's one motherfucking teacher who you feel gives a shit, who's in his room, ready to help you with extra shit, who if you went to and said, hey, dude, I know everyone else is at lunch right now, but I don't understand this fucking math equation. You're telling me, get away, kid, you're black. He wouldn't do that. He wouldn't fucking, there's at least one fucking, or 10 teachers in that school who would be like, all right, listen, motherfucker, here's how you do it. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, having that be part of more of the culture of a responsibility. If you actually want something different, you got to work. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's why I think the white guilt / white savior is really killing this thing. That's dangerous. That's scary. That's sad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't have the answers.
Neither do
But
I.
it's given me, lots of things to think about.
There's a lot of Asian kids in here. Because diversity doesn't count if it's all Asians. Well, Volume 1 is over. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves this last year and 10 months. I certainly have. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening. Leave a review. Rate it. And find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano and TikTok at Conservatish. And Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and blah, blah, blah. Oh, and on patreon.com/Conservatish. I love you all very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Ow.